On today's show, the guys welcome back themselves. After 9 months of self-imposed sabbatical, we're back. A lot has changed. A lot has stayed the same. Most importantly, weight has been gained and lost and gained again. It's the EduTechGuys. You're listening to the EduTechGuys. EduTechGuys.com. Hey, yeah, welcome to the rebirth, as it were, of the EduTechGuys. I'm David Henderson.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is so nice to be back.
So nice to be back. It seems like ages ago. Like, I'm thinking it was 10 years ago since we did it. Now, I shouldn't say that. We did some freelance work for Mind Rocket and some things like that, with chalk.com and some stuff like that. So yeah. we kept ourselves busy, and I started a kind of a new little podcast, The Troubadour Life, and it's great. It's more of a musician thing, but we've had a really good time, and I think one of the things is interesting is it's taken us time to wrap our heads around, hey, what are we going to talk about this next year?
Yeah, exactly, and I think to me, that's one of the biggest, upsides of taking some time off. And although I don't recommend 9 months to anybody, but definitely taking time off, especially if you are doing a podcast already or thinking about launching a podcast, take a moment and kind of figure out what it is what's your goal? What are you trying to do? So this year, we're putting it down to 3 little letters.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We ask ourselves this question a lot during the sabbatical, the pandemic, the whatever we're going to call it.
Right.
But yeah, those 3 little letters, that one word is why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Why? It's one of the first words that a child asks you when you tell them to do something. Right. When you say, don't touch the hot oven. Why? Don't potty on the floor, potty in the potty. Why? Wear clothes,
Yes, exactly.
But, it is something that I think is a great question, that we need to ask, that can take us for several years, honestly, if we keep looking at why we're doing this. Why are we coming back to school? Why aren't we staying home? Why? And it's not just for the kids, right?
No. I think this question should be asked of, no matter what you're doing in life, if you're an administrator in a school building, why are you an administrator? Why did you want to become an administrator? Maybe you didn't want to become an administrator, but you were, ultimately sort of kind of guided in that direction. And now you have found yourself in that administrator role. So why are you there? What do you hope to accomplish while you're there? Why are you a teacher in the classroom? I think you brought up a great point, especially when it comes to how we're doing school. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for students, especially, now here in Arkansas, we pretty much fired up in August and went, yeah, we're doing school. There's going to be some in person, some virtual, but we're doing it. Honestly, not really paying attention, for lack of, just saying it like it is, to what the rest of the country was doing school-wise, which was, a lot of them were like, yeah, we're not doing school, or it's 100% virtual, or, they're just now going to be coming back to school for the 21-22 school year. And we're like, wait a minute, you weren't already in school? So ultimately, students are going to be asking, well, why? Why do I have to come back to the building? Virtual was working fine for me. Or one of my soapbox, for lack of a better word, one of my soapbox things is this: why are we still going to be doing school the way we've been doing school? And I mean all the way that I mean that down all the way to the student level. That is, what I mean by that is that if I've got students who of course, they've got to have education, but if for whatever reason a student prefers a math program in a district that's 30 miles away, why can't they take that virtually?
Right.
Now if there's a local program that they like, sure, but why not? Why can't we have true anytime, anywhere, anyway learning?
Well, I can answer some of that, because why is I've got to have pizza and corn at least one day a week. It's got to be on the tray.
Yeah, that's right.
But that why question, it actually hits every aspect of our lives. But let's take a look at it in education. I mean, a lot of times I talk to former students who are having a hard time of figuring out their path. And we've all been there or in the midst of it. That's kind of where we all are, most of us, 90% of our lives. Why? What am I doing? Where is this leading? What's going on? And I think this is a question that can be asked by administrators, by teachers. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? It could even go down to the suppliers. I mean, there could be an educational service provider that really needs to sit down with its team and say, why are we doing this? Are we doing this for the kids, for the teachers, for education, for the history of mankind? Are we doing it just to make money? And interestingly enough, I don't think the why is important, but defining the why is important. Because if you're making money, then great. You know the answer. Why am I doing this? I'm making money. Okay, great. At least you know what the goal is and the why is answered. I think a lot of times we go into stuff without the why being answered. It's that we have to do the what. It's, what are you doing? We have to get these test scores high. Well, why? So, but the why is because the state said we had to. Why?
Right.
And it just keeps, and that's it. Like a kid who can say, no, why am I even going to school? My sister is an influencer and has 15,000 followers and gets a new pair of Adidas every 2 weeks, in the mail. Why do I need a degree to take pictures of myself wearing Adidas, and running into walls and making funny TikToks? I mean, doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I think that's, something we need to reach out to the right people and the students and teachers and parents. I mean, this opens up a breadth of an area that we really, I think, might be our calling to find out this next year. Why? Why? Well, we love making the show and we love visiting with educators and hearing their stories at events all across the nation.
Yeah, you can help us continue spreading that love by, you can either sponsor the show, you could sponsor conference appearances, or you could even do both.
Yeah, visit the edutechguys.com/sponsors to find out how you can help keep the EduTech Guys, the train rolling down the tracks, and get your name or company or your school or anything in the market you may not currently occupy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and if you're listening and sponsorship's not the way you want to go, we are certainly looking for guests to come on the show.
We're lurking for guests.
We're lurking for guests and to share your why. Maybe you already know your why. Maybe you've been down this road, whether personally or with your particular organization or your school district. Maybe you guys have already addressed the why. We'd love to hear that. Or maybe you want to come on the show and we'll help you find your why.
Exactly. And you know what? One of our topics on our show notes today is, where have we been? But that's a question that we'd like to ask you. Where have you been? Your jobs have morphed. Virtual learning is in place. Zoom meetings have taken over the internet. Podcast series have just blown up everywhere, and more people have podcasts. Well, we want to know about that. We want to know about that, your home life even. How society has changed for you. It's not just about the why, but it kind of is.
Sure.
What have you been doing and what's changed in your life? Because I think it would be hard pressed for anyone out there to not say that what has happened in this country and around the world in the last year and a half hasn't deeply affected all of us.
Hey, so before the break, we were talking about where things are with you, with us, with what you've been doing, why you've been doing what you've been doing over this, I guess we'll call it the pandemic break. I don't know what you want to call that. But you can let us know. Reach out to us on Twitter at EduTechGuys. Hit us up on Facebook, EduTechGuys. Basically, you Google Instagram, EduTechGuys. That's right. Yeah. Reach out to us, and we're always posting crazy stuff.
You go to the Googles and you type in the EduTech Guys, you're going to find our two sweet cherub-like faces looking back at you.
Exactly. So a couple of things to think about as you are pondering what your plans are and as you're trying to figure out your why out there as you're listening. Just some different things to think about in terms of moving forward and the importance of engagement. Things to think about, your virtual and in-person and hybrid education, the importance of engagement at the teacher level. what does teacher engagement look like for you? For if you're an administrator, what does that look like for your teachers?
Well, I'd like to throw in, and that gets into a trusting element. I mean, I think that's one thing that came out of this, among many things that came out of this pandemic. Vacation, whatever it is, was no vacation. From this pandemic break, this new learning style that we did is I think we all started to realize we had to trust a lot more people in our tribes, and to use some of that vernacular from the past, because we had to rely on our tech people to make sure stuff was happening, and our curriculum people to make sure that we knew what we were going to teach online and everything. So that's a great one. What do you think about student engagement?
Well, when it comes to student engagement, I think to me one of the biggest hurdles, honestly, I think a lot of teachers faced, or maybe one of the biggest kind of revelations that teachers faced, were the fact that student responsibility became one of the foremost issues in their own education. When things went either hybrid or in a lot of cases completely virtual, it fell on the students to be responsible for their learning for a big part of it. Yes, we had the instructors, facilitators. They were churning out the work that the students needed to respond to and be able to demonstrate their content knowledge. But I think that because a lot of that fell into the students' laps, they were way more responsible for their own education than sitting in the classroom, being preached to every day. It was a completely different environment that these students had to either step up or not step up. And then at that point, you've got the engagement of the educators to turn around and go, oh my gosh, we're losing these particular students. That's a huge topic this year is learning loss.
Well, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about one of the notes we had here was student responsibility training. We all know stories of students that thrived in this. Like, I've got 24 hours, I've got a week to get this done. Some kids jumped into it and finished everything in a day. And some of them were smart enough to go, I'm going to have a great day for 3 days. And then for 2 days, I'm going to work on all my work and get it done. And they started learning stuff, but some of them didn't.
Right.
And some of those that did it the other way also didn't take on the responsibility of the auto learning, that autodidactism. They didn't take on the responsibilities of, okay, now you have all this time and your time management and what you've got to keep learning just because you got the classwork done. Let's do something else. So I think student responsibility and helping students learn how to use that now that they've been thrust into it at the first is going to be a huge, huge deal. But I think all this gets back to the basis of the simplicity of teaching and learning. Is that, that's the basis of it. Let's start back and let's take a look at it, and let's calmly and boldly go, or to quote Galaxy Quest, never surrender, never, It's a Galaxy Quest for all you nerds out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You Tim Allen fans.
That's right.
By Grabthar's hammer. So, that's that just popped into my brain. So there you go. That's a freebie on the podcast today.
That's right. That's right.
But David, you're right. I think there's a lot of things to look forward to, and as we move forward, and I think we have a lot of discussions that are going to be a lot of fun with a lot of people that we know and how they're handling this and how some of them aren't handling it. And we know a lot of people that have changed careers and have changed direction completely, and beliefs, because it's not just the pandemic that happened. A lot of things have happened in our lives between 2020 and 2021.
Sure. I think my mind immediately goes to a lot of the folks that we have talked to and a lot of people that we have known over the years who, prior to all of this, they made their living by going around and visiting schools and talking to their teachers and administrators. And, frankly, some of them were just educational cheerleaders for, sorry, but that's how it was.
Sure.
Well, and I think a lot of them were forced with the mirror.
Evangelist to give them a look.
Okay, education evangelist. But they were forced to hold that mirror up to them and go, why am I doing this? Or you have the districts on the other side going, why am I paying $10,000 to have this person come in.
Sure. And look how many districts went, wow, I just had 7 people emerge, or 10 people, or 15 people emerge in my district that are my cheerleaders right here on staff, that are my evangelists, that are my PD providers, that are my experts, my tribe leaders right here on staff. Yeah, a lot has changed. And I think we will be going through this change for a couple of years until we can settle back down and find the new mode of education. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And it's one of the things that, we're not just sitting here, pointing the mic at you guys listening, saying, what's your why? That's something Jeff and I are doing with EduTechGuys. Why? Why are we doing EduTechGuys? What do we hope to achieve with it? What are our goals moving forward now that we've been away for a little while and life for everybody has changed.
Yeah, because the bills for the yacht keep coming in. The bills for the EduTechGuys yacht keep coming in. We got to keep
you and that freaking helicopter.
It's the yacht, which it's a 2-manner. It's got a trolling motor on it. It's aluminum from 1978, sitting in a pond out behind my house. And
it's this tracker on the side.
Sometimes if we're feeling really really out there, we paddle. So yeah.
Upstream.
Off the cliff, both ways.
Oh, my gosh.
So I tell you what, we're going to take another quick break and check a commercial. And we're going to listen from one of our folks, our sponsors, our compadres, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, we want to give a big shout out to Soundtrap. If you're not using Soundtrap to create and edit your podcast, or using it in your classroom with your students, teaching them music loops and all that kind of great stuff, then you're really missing out. Soundtrap, soundtrap.com.
Hey, welcome back, and we are bringing back one of the features from the old school days.
EduTech Tips.
There you go.
No.
Right. It's the EduTech Tip of the podcast. It used to be of the week, but I don't know if we're doing weekly or not. But anyhow, let's talk about this particular tech tip. And this is something you may or may not be aware of. There is a I'm going to say new because it's been around for a couple of years now, but it's new. The new .new domain. So it ends with .new. Back in 2019, Google launched the .new domain as a shortcut way to get to some of your favorite online tools. So for example, if you want to create a new Google presentation just from a URL, you just go to slides.new and boom, it instantly drops you into presentations with a new slide.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was like, holy cow, man. So other things you can do, you want to create a new podcast episode and you're already using Anchor, just go to podcast.new. And if you're already signed in to Anchor, it'll immediately take you to the new episode feature in Anchor.
That's
now,
smooth.
If you're not already signed up or you're not signed in, then you got to kind of jump through those little hoops first. But then once you're in, podcast.new, boom, instantly. And there are a ton of them. As a matter of fact, you can go to a full list of all those shortcuts. You go to whats, W-H-A-T-S, whats.new/shortcuts, and that'll give you the whole list. And there are a ton of them. And they're from everybody. There's Microsoft, Adobe, I don't know, tons of them.
Well, anyway, if you go to why.new, it brings up, it says, do you have your towel? And it's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I was going to say, that'd be hilarious. Is that right?
That would be a great reference.
That would be hilarious.
Hey, listen, it's been a great show. We hope you are glad we're back. We're really glad to be back. We look forward to hearing you, and we look forward to the conferences in the future where we get to see you again. We miss all of our friends, and we miss all the educators and all the stuff that you bring to us. And we hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
And we'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to the EduTech Guys, edutechguys.com.